Welcome back to another one of my old school mechanic videos. This time around, we're going to take an HEI distributor mounted on a Jeep motor, and we're going to work on making the vacuum canister adjustments. And I'm going to show you how you can lower it down to 2 degrees and its maximum raise up to 18 degrees in time and advancement, and that's going to be without rotating your distributor. Now, this video will be specific to a 258 cubic inch or what we call 4.2 liter inline 6 AMC Jeep motor. We're going to be fine tuning the HEI distributor to get its maximum performance matched to a modified non-stock motor. It's going to be simple and easy. We're going to be just pulling the vacuum line off the vacuum canister and just rotating a set screw inside the canister. And that's all there is to it. Now, the only high-tech equipment that we're going to need is this plain and simple timing light. I'm talking about just the light bulb and the clamps, and that's it. You don't need a fancy readout on the back of it, and a 2.5 millimeter Allen wrench. The setup to do the timing on your motor is pretty simple. Just clamp to the number 1 spark cable. Take the power clamps that go to the timing light and just attach them to the vehicle's battery there under the hood. And what you see over there on the right, there's a little bit in the pictures, is I took a white paint stick and I highlighted the groove that's on the harmonic balancer pulley. And not only did I do that, but I went over and while the motor was still on the stand and I could get to these things easy, I highlighted the cast iron notches for timing and on the front of the motor there, as you see us that last picture. I need to explain why I'm using this type of manually adjusted and mechanically operated counterweights and spring system inside a distributor. I'm not running fuel injection, so I don't have a ECU of any type to talk to a electronic distribution system and so on and adjust everything I need as the motor runs. It constantly updates and fixes itself and sets its timing as the motor's needs to, like everybody else. Instead, I'm running old style carburetors, and that means it's necessary for me to run a mechanically advanced distributor. And this is the best that I feel like is on the market in HEI at the period of time that they manufactured it and everything in the 90s. It was at its peak and it fits my needs perfectly. I put together a chart and here to try to show you how mechanical HEI functions. It helps me understand it, and I hope it does you. The HEI distributor, the Pacific one that I purchased, it came with an adjustable vacuum advance canister. But as everybody else does, and myself, I set it per factory specs, uh, 8 degrees. And this canister, when it comes, and you're not going to mess with it from the factory, it's sitting at about halfway of what its capability is. And it can be adjusted from 2 degrees up to 18 degrees. And it comes from the factory. You're sitting at a midway there. That's about 8 degrees plus or minus or so. And at 1,000 RPM, they're asking for your distributor to be at 8 degrees on my particular motor. And this was just fine. It worked just fine for me. And what happens is you get to about 1,200 RPM, and now the mechanical counterweights are going to take in, and it's going to advance it up to a full 20 degrees at 3,600 RPM. And from there on out, it stays at 20 degrees advanced all the way to your red line of whatever you're building on a motor. In my case, I found out I needed to be at 10 degrees, and I found out the hard way. I'm sitting here adjusting out my carburetors, and the motor's running just fine, but I'm at about 400 foot elevation. And when I took a trip, one of the first major trips I took that put some elevation where I was at, I was around 6 to 7,000 foot elevation driving the Jeep. And I ended up having to actually set my timing to about 10 degrees. And I had even to change the jets and adjust the jets in my carburetors. And I found out that, well, I think I'm going to go back and look at those instructions again. I read through them and knew what the advanced canister was available. You know, you could adjust it and everything, but I thought I'd take a serious look at it this time around. On this next slide, let's talk about how and what the canister is actually doing when you're adjusting it. And let's focus on the red square in the middle of the page. When you've got the Allen up inside the canister, you can feel it go into a set screw, and you rotate it clockwise. It's going to have a total of 18 degrees by the time you rotate it. You're going to rotate it a few turns to get there. Now, if you rotate it counterclockwise and you roll it until it stops, you're going to be set at 2 degrees. The canister, I guess that's its default so that you can't mess up. At least it will always have 2 degrees of advancement in it. And the factory uses this 10-inch HG as a standard by how they determine which the degrees are. But really, that's basically at sea level. And it's what it really is 10 inches of mercury on a barometer. But what you need to apply to your needs on your motor is to make sure that your motor is giving 9 psi to a negative 10 psi. That's a negative 9 to a negative 10. And that's measured with a boost gauge. And make sure the gauge is drawing air directly from the intake manifold and not through the ported vent of a carburetor that provides that vent for your vacuum advance. You have to make sure that the intake manifold is the source of your boost gauge to determine that. And you're going to need that to be around 800 RPM or so, or at its idle. And that's a good, healthy engine. And there's not many out there that won't do that. Now, let's move on. Now it's time to actually make the adjustments, and it's simple and easy. First, I want to mention the fact that the company I bought the distributor from sent a couple of pages of paperwork with it, and their recommendations was that to fool with the canister, to do it only on a modified motor, and also that motor needs to be running on high grade, high octane fuel. Now, the reason for that, which didn't make sense to me at the beginning either, but after a paragraph later, they're explaining it. If you set your motor up and you're running on high octane fuel and you got a good load of it in the gas tank and everything's doing just fine, and later on uh, you put low grade regular in it, then you might have a problem. You're going to have to go in there and change that setting on this distributor back down to that 8 degrees or whatever it takes, because you're going to start having some pre-ignition pinging just by chance that you would have that with this low grade gas. But now in my case, uh, I'm running about 9.251 compression, and I don't put anything in the gas tank except 90 plus octane. I don't care how much it's cost. That's just part of the having what I got. 90 plus octane fuel is all that I run through my motor. And I have to because of the compression ratio. Now, to start this thing off on step number one, uh, it's asking you to, have the timing at 8 degrees. And also, you haven't messed with the canister yet. So there it sits at 8 degrees, four top dead center, and 8 degrees inside the canister, plus or minus. And you're going to tighten the distributor down, and that's it. We're not going to move the distributor from anything else now, because from now on, when we adjust the canister, the vacuum, it's going to change your timing and not rotate the distributor to do it. So it's easy. Step number two, all we're going to do is pull the vacuum line, of course, turn the motor off, pull the vacuum line, and take that set screw turned counterclockwise until it stops. Then make one full turn clockwise. Put everything back together, crank up the motor, and listen for some pre-ignition pinging. And chances are you're going to, because you're sitting way down there. We're, in my case, I took a look at it while it was trying to run, and it was only about 3 or 4 degrees off a top dead center. So you can probably do what I did. I ended up having to do this about twice. So now you go to step three and repeat what you just did. Turn the motor off, pull out the vacuum line. Now clockwise some more, another full turn. Put it all back together, listen to it. And in my case, I did it a third time. And I repeated the rotating the screw clockwise for a third time, put it all back together. And then I did not have any pre-ignition pinging. Now, I'm concerned, like, where is this thing at on the timing? Well, take your timing light around there and you're going to find out. In my case, I was back up to my 10 degrees, which I had to be at. I had discovered I needed to be before, but now this time, this Vacuum Advance canister is adjusted, and it's actually, if you think about it just right, you'll realize that it's giving you a better uh, amount of adjustment inside itself in its vacuum. I don't know how I could say that any better than just having it at 8 degrees and then set it at 8 degrees. And that's it. It was simple. Throw the timing light on it. I'm back up to about 10 degrees, which I was trying to be at anyway. And then I realized, well, if it's going to make this thing work better, let's find out. And I did. And it did work better in my case. Now, I don't think somebody's going to find that out and you're going to realize that you got a hot rod down there at the street and you're pulling off a line and your Vacuum Advance is working for about 2 or 3 seconds and then it's into the mechanical side or whatever. This isn't going to apply for you. But it actually showed up for me when I'm in two-wheel low in third or fourth gear, and I'm doing less than 20 miles an hour. I'm nowhere close to 1200 RPM in my case, and it does just fine. I felt the difference. Now, going to the trouble and adjusting the canister proved itself useful in my particular case, where it might not for you. Uh, the modifications on my motor create a lot of very low RPM horsepower and torque. And that fits my need for slow speed pulling power. I'm not rock climbing by no means with this old Jeep, but I do have to climb a steep hill and roll over a rock every once in a while. And to get this low RPM horsepower, the motor cylinder head has oversized exhaust valves and ports. A company in Tampa, Florida has these heads custom cast for them. And I bought one of their assembled heads ready to go with my motor. Because I spend a lot of driving time around 1,000 to 1,800 RPM, slowly cruising down gravel roads and taking my time in life as I do, I actually felt the improvements, particularly because about 80% of my running motor time is within the Vacuum Advance portion of the distributor and how it's functioning for my motor. This was such a unique way of making adjustments after I finally read all my instructions like I'm supposed to. And I decided to make this video and hope someone will get some use out of doing the same like I did. Thank you for watching.